At first, 3I/Atlas looked like just another rock in space. But James Webb revealed something impossible: corridors, walls, and structures inside, perfectly engineered. It pulsed with energy, reacting to the sun, almost like it was alive. And its path? It's moving like it knows we're watching. What is this thing really? Infrared scans revealed patterns inside 3I/Atlas that defied all expectations. These weren't random cracks, jagged formations, or the chaotic results of cosmic collisions. No, what James Webb uncovered were mathematically precise geometric shapes, structures that repeated in perfect alignment, forming corridors, walls, and cavities. The kind of patterns you expect from intelligent design, not from natural processes. For a long time, astronomers dismissed the readings, assuming it was sensor noise or interference. But every new scan confirmed the same story. Deep inside this wandering object lay something structured, deliberate, and calculated. The angles were too perfect, the spacing too exact. Every corridor and cavity seemed to follow a plan, almost as if 3I/Atlas had been engineered for a purpose. If you want to help us continue uncovering the secrets of the universe and keep us excited to make more mind-blowing content, hit that subscribe button now. It really makes us happy and keeps the journey going. The implications were staggering. Nature, in all its randomness, never arranges itself into repeating grids or symmetrical modules like this. Yet here it was, traveling silently through our solar system, carrying a structure that challenged the very foundations of what we consider possible. Scientists began asking themselves questions they never thought they would. Could an interstellar object really house something intelligent? Could this be a message, a vessel, or a relic left by a civilization far older and more advanced than our own? As the telescope continued to observe, the anomaly only grew more puzzling. The object emitted energy in a pattern that aligned perfectly with the internal structure. It pulsed, almost as if it were alive, or at least responsive, signaling that this was not just a rock drifting through space. What James Webb had discovered was not simply an interstellar visitor. It was something far more mysterious, something that may force humanity to rethink its place in the cosmos. The story of 3I/Atlas had just begun, and the universe had already started whispering secrets we were only beginning to understand. What James Webb revealed next took the anomaly to an entirely new level. Peering deeper into 3I/Atlas, the telescope uncovered an internal structure that was unmistakably organized. This was not a chaotic jumble of rock and ice. Every corridor, every wall, every cavity followed a deliberate pattern, forming a network that resembled the layout of a city or even a spacecraft. Imagine looking down at a city from above. Streets intersect at precise angles. Buildings are arranged with purpose. Blocks repeat in a modular way. That's exactly what James Webb's infrared instruments detected inside this interstellar visitor. Long corridors aligned perfectly, chambers connected with symmetry, and openings spaced with mathematical precision. Every module seemed to follow the same architectural rules, as if an unseen planner had carefully engineered each compartment. At first, scientists were skeptical. How could a naturally occurring object form grid-based structures and repeating modules? They double-checked their instruments, ran simulations, and recalibrated the sensors. But every scan reinforced the same astonishing conclusion. 3I/Atlas contained an internal layout that was deliberate, purposeful, and highly organized. Even more fascinating was the scale of the design. If translated into earthly terms, these compartments could resemble city blocks, repeated multiple times, like a modular blueprint. The precision was staggering. In nature, nothing aligns itself into right angles and repeating grids like this. Yet here, drifting silently through our solar system, was an object that seemed to defy every natural explanation. Scientists began to speculate. Could this be a derelict spacecraft, a probe, or some form of interstellar station? Or was it a relic of an advanced civilization, built to withstand the void of space? The city-like architecture inside 3I/Atlas suggested not just design, but intention. Whoever or whatever built this, they were thinking about function, durability, and perhaps even survival in the harshest environment imaginable. This was no ordinary discovery. It challenged our understanding of what interstellar objects could be. For the first time, humanity was looking at a structure that might have been engineered by an intelligence beyond Earth, frozen in time, drifting silently toward us. And as James Webb continued to study it, the mystery deepened. Who built it? And why was it here, now, in our solar system? As scientists examined 3I/Atlas more closely, an even stranger phenomenon emerged. The object wasn't just structurally organized, it was thermally active in ways that made no natural sense. Heat emissions didn't radiate randomly across the surface. Instead, they originated from specific zones perfectly aligned with the internal grids. These pulses were not constant, not chaotic. They were timed, localized bursts, almost like a heartbeat or a signal. The pattern suggested something far beyond natural processes. Heat was being regulated, rising and falling in precise intervals. Certain corridors stayed warmer, while adjacent chambers remained cold, as if some mechanism was controlling the flow of energy. On Earth, we might see similar patterns in advanced infrastructure or reactor systems, where temperature is deliberately managed for efficiency or survival. But here, in a drifting interstellar object, this was beyond anything previously observed. Adding to the mystery, James Webb's instruments detected electromagnetic anomalies surrounding the object. Some frequencies bounced off entirely, as if the cavities were shielded with an advanced material designed to repel radiation. Other frequencies passed through but were absorbed, never returning, almost as if the object were processing or storing energy and information. This was no ordinary comet. It behaved like a machine, a complex system with hidden functionality. The implications were staggering. If heat was being controlled and electromagnetic signals manipulated, it suggested engineering and intention, not randomness. Scientists began to propose theories. Could 3I/Atlas be a probe? A vessel designed to preserve something inside? Perhaps even a lifeboat built to survive the extremes of interstellar space? Every pulse, every fluctuation told a story. It was as if the object were alive in some way, not in the biological sense, but as a system responding to its environment. Some researchers whispered that this could be the first evidence of a non-human intelligence expressing itself through energy, through structure, through subtle but undeniable patterns in both heat and electromagnetic activity. This discovery shifted the perception of 3I/Atlas from a simple interstellar visitor to something far more profound, a city-like machine, thermally regulated and potentially active, silently drifting through the stars, waiting to be observed. The deeper scientists examined 3I/Atlas, the more it became impossible to see it as a simple rock. Its internal structure suggested a level of engineering and intentionality that mirrored some of humanity's most advanced survival designs. The corridors, chambers, and cavities weren't randomly placed. They followed precise layouts, like those found in underground bunkers built to withstand disasters, spacecraft designed for long-term missions, or modular habitats constructed for extreme environments. Certain sections contain geometric arrangements like hexagonal chambers to maximize space and structural integrity, while others adhered to mathematical ratios like the Fibonacci sequence, often used in both natural and engineered systems for efficiency and balance. The thermal pulses and electromagnetic shielding observed in previous scans only reinforced the notion that this was not a passive object. The heat zones aligned perfectly with the internal grid, as if a centralized system controlled temperature, energy flow, or both. Some compartments remained warm while adjacent areas stayed cold, indicating localized energy management. Electromagnetic readings revealed that some frequencies were entirely blocked while others were absorbed, hinting at materials or mechanisms designed to store, redirect, or process energy. Taken together, these findings painted a picture of a structure that was not only engineered but also functional, capable of sustaining operations over vast distances. Researchers began asking questions that once seemed impossible. Could 3I/Atlas be a probe sent to explore, observe, or gather information from other star systems? Could it carry life, biological or artificial, or advanced machinery designed to survive interstellar space for centuries? Some suggested it might even be a lifeboat from an ancient civilization launched to escape a dying world, carrying precious cargo meant to endure where the original civilization could not. Every corridor, every chamber, and every module suggested planning and purpose, characteristics impossible for a natural object to replicate. The implications were staggering. If 3I/Atlas was a vessel, it wasn't just drifting aimlessly. Its design suggested long-term thinking, resilience, and perhaps even intelligence guiding its trajectory. Could it be awaiting discovery, lying dormant until a species capable of observing it, like humanity, arrived on the cosmic stage? Could our very act of scanning it with the James Webb telescope have triggered its systems, alerting it to our presence? As researchers debated and models were constructed, one thing became clear. The more we understood about 3I/Atlas, the more it appeared to be a deliberate creation, a silent, drifting witness in the vast expanse of space, a vessel built with intent, waiting, watching, and perhaps communicating in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. As data from James Webb scans accumulated, teams around the world began building high-resolution 3D reconstructions of 3I/Atlas. What they uncovered was beyond extraordinary. The object's interior wasn't just structured, it was engineered with precision and intent. The AI-driven models revealed multi-level architecture, with layers stacked like the decks of a massive vessel, interconnected by repeating corridors and nodal junctions that seemed designed for movement and energy flow. Each level had distinct zones, clusters of chambers organized around what scientists identified as energy nodes, dense regions that pulsed with residual heat and electromagnetic activity. This wasn't the chaotic interior of an asteroid. It looked like a functional system, a machine or vessel designed to operate autonomously over unimaginable distances. The energy nodes appeared to be positioned with mathematical precision, each connected to networks of hollow corridors that likely functioned as conduits, channeling heat, power, or other forms of energy throughout the structure. Some chambers, based on their geometry and composition, were interpreted as storage bays, stable, shielded areas where delicate materials or systems could be preserved for millennia. Others looked like habitat zones, but not for humans. The proportions, layouts, and curvatures of these spaces were unfamiliar, as if designed for non-human physiology, perhaps for beings who thought, moved, or existed in ways entirely different from us. The architectural design hinted at an overarching purpose. This was not a derelict chunk of rock. It was a vessel with a mission. The presence of repeating patterns across multiple decks suggested either advanced AI construction or the work of a civilization capable of mass-producing modular star structures. Some researchers speculated that it could have been a seed craft, a ship designed to travel across interstellar space, carrying the technological or biological essence of an extinct civilization. Others proposed it might be a listening station, designed to drift silently and collect information, perhaps awakening when certain conditions were met. Even more chilling was the precision of the design itself. The ratios embedded in its architecture matched constants found in advanced mathematics and physics, numbers that underpin universal engineering principles. It was as if whoever built it understood the deep structures of the cosmos and designed this vessel not for decades, but for millions of years of survival. The AI reconstructions gave scientists their clearest view yet. This wasn't a comet. It wasn't debris. It was an artifact, engineered with intent and purpose, carrying secrets from a civilization far older, far wiser, or far more advanced than our own. And as the world watched, one question began to echo through every research lab, every mission control center, every corner of the scientific community. Who built it, and why is it here? As the reality of what 3IATLAS might be began to sink in, the tone of the global response changed overnight. What had started as an astronomical curiosity quickly evolved into a classified strategic priority. Governments around the world began quietly moving, often behind closed doors. Defense agencies that had shown little interest in space science were suddenly recalibrating their early warning satellite networks to lock onto the object. High-orbit surveillance systems, usually reserved for tracking missiles and military assets, were redirected to continuously monitor 3IATLAS. This wasn't just about science anymore. This was about control, security, and power. Almost immediately, the flow of public data slowed to a crawl. Research streams that had been openly shared with observatories and universities worldwide began disappearing from public servers. Access to telemetry, infrared imaging, and signal spectrum analyses was restricted, with entire datasets suddenly falling under national security classification. Independent researchers trying to study the object were met with denials, blocked frequencies, and vague official statements that revealed nothing and concealed everything. It was clear someone, or rather many someones, didn't want the full picture reaching the public. Behind the scenes, military interest skyrocketed. Intelligence reports suggested that multiple nations had deployed or retasked orbital platforms to study 3IATLAS at different wavelengths, hoping to intercept or detect any form of transmission coming from it. There were rumors of encrypted meetings between major spacefaring powers, emergency briefings at defense alliances, and rapid development of protocols for contact scenarios. The possibility that this object could be a technological artifact of unknown origin placed it at the very top of global strategic concerns. Whoever controlled access to it could control the most significant discovery in human history. The most unsettling turn in the 3IATLAS mystery didn't come from a new scan or a classified briefing. It came from a solar flare. During a period of heightened solar activity, when the sun released an intense burst of charged particles, the James Webb telescope and several ground-based observatories detected something no one expected: a subtle but undeniable internal movement within the structure. It was faint, almost imperceptible at first, a slight shift in one of the internal corridors, a structural tremor rippling through the object like a sleeping giant stirring in its sleep. At first, scientists assumed it was thermal expansion, a natural response to sudden radiation exposure. But deeper analysis painted a far more complex picture. The movement wasn't random. It followed the grid-aligned pattern of the internal architecture, originating from the central energy nodes and propagating outward in an almost coordinated wave. It looked like a reactive system, something designed to respond to solar energy rather than passively endure it. Sensors recorded tiny fluctuations in electromagnetic emissions at the same time, as if the object were absorbing the solar flare, channeling it, and then redirecting or storing it internally. This behavior was unlike any known natural object. Comets don't flex their structure in sync with energy bursts. Asteroids don't activate internal nodes in precise, repeating sequences. This was something else entirely, a mechanism responding to its environment, like a system that had been dormant and just received a wake-up call. Theories quickly emerged among the few scientists still granted access to the raw data. Some suggested the vessel could be powered by stellar radiation, designed to reactivate after drifting dormant for centuries or millennia. Others believed it might be a form of self-repair or reboot sequence, triggered whenever the object encountered strong stellar activity. The most chilling theory, however, was simple. 3IATLAS wasn't just a relic. It was asleep. And when it felt the pulse of the sun, something inside it began to stir. The synchronized internal shift wasn't just movement, it was behavior. As the solar flare faded, the tremors subsided and the structure fell silent once more, but its electromagnetic signature remained altered. It had changed. Something had awakened, even if only for a moment. From that point forward, every major observatory and classified satellite array was locked on the object, waiting for the next solar storm. The world didn't know it yet, but behind layers of military secrecy, a quiet countdown had begun. Humanity had observed 3IATLAS. But now, it seemed 3IATLAS had observed back. The secrecy itself raised even more questions than the object. If 3IATLAS was truly inert, why such intense military mobilization? Why redirect high-level assets to monitor something supposedly harmless? And why cut off civilian science communities from real-time data? For many outside government circles, the answer was obvious. There was more happening than the world was being told. Some speculated about energy readings too advanced to disclose, others about transmissions or structural changes detected only by classified instruments. The public narrative remained calm and vague. But beneath the surface, the world's most powerful nations were racing to understand, or possibly control, the artifact. In the quiet dark between the stars, 3IATLAS drifted on its trajectory, indifferent to human borders, politics, or power. But on Earth, it had already triggered a new kind of space race, not for exploration, but for possession. And in that moment, it became clear, whatever 3IATLAS truly was, it wasn't just a scientific discovery, it was a global secret. As the world's scientific community pieced together the data, the city-like structure, the thermal regulation, the reactive movement during the solar flare, a new, unsettling question emerged. Was 3IATLAS intelligent? Not in the way humans understand intelligence, with minds, eyes, or voices, but in a form that might be utterly alien to everything we know. Traditional expectations about extraterrestrial contact often imagined biological beings or advanced machines, but what scientists were seeing didn't fit those ideas. There were no engines, no propulsion signatures, no antennas, no obvious computers. Yet, the precision of the design, the reactivity to stellar energy, and the mathematical structure woven through its architecture pointed to a purpose and a logic far too sophisticated to be accidental. Some researchers proposed a radical theory. 3IATLAS might not contain living beings at all. Instead, it could be the intelligence itself, or at least the container of a non-biological mind. They speculated that the structure might encode consciousness or advanced processing not in electronics, but in gravitational or quantum configurations, using the very fabric of physics as its operating system. Rather than wires or circuits, it could store and process information through oscillating quantum fields, gravitational wave interactions, or dark matter coupling, technologies centuries or even millennia beyond human comprehension. This idea wasn't born from science fiction, it arose from measurable anomalies. Deep spectral scans showed minute fluctuations in space-time curvature around the core of the structure, like ripples on a still pond. These patterns didn't correspond to any natural processes known in astronomy. Some believed they were information signatures, like data packets encoded in spacetime itself. If true, 3IATLAS wasn't just a vessel. It was a conscious system, perhaps lying dormant until stimulated by a star's energy, waiting for a signal or following instructions written in the language of the cosmos. Others theorized it could be a repository of intelligence, not a living mind, but a vast archive, holding the knowledge of a civilization long vanished. A kind of interstellar black box, designed to drift for eons until another intelligent species stumbled upon it. It might be older than humanity itself, older even than our solar system. Of course, not all agreed. Skeptics argued that human minds are desperate to find meaning in the unknown, and these patterns could simply be misunderstood physics. But even they couldn't explain away the symmetry, the intentional geometry, and the reactive energy behavior. Something about 3IATLAS wasn't random. It was designed with intent, and that intent could very well have been intelligent, just not in any way we've ever encountered before. In whispered conversations behind closed doors, scientists and military officials began to consider a chilling possibility. We may not be dealing with a ship we can talk to, but a form of intelligence we may not even be able to comprehend. As scientists continued to track 3IATLAS, they began to notice something that sent chills through mission control rooms around the world. The object wasn't drifting on a chaotic path like a typical comet or interstellar rock. Its trajectory was precise, deliberate, and eerily strategic. Instead of veering randomly through the solar system, it was passing close to major planets, first skimming the gravitational influence of Jupiter, then bending toward Mars, and eventually charting a course that would bring it alarmingly close to Earth's orbital neighborhood. On paper, it could be dismissed as coincidence, a fortunate alignment of gravitational assists. But the exactness of the movements told a different story. Each planetary pass seemed to mimic the pattern of a scanning probe, swinging by just close enough to gather data while maintaining a stable path deeper into the inner solar system. High-resolution models revealed micro-adjustments in its velocity and orientation, almost imperceptible but undeniably real. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just being pulled along by gravity, it was navigating. The possibility that our telescopes had unintentionally alerted it to our presence raised urgent questions about what might come next. The orbital models showed that if its current trajectory held, 3IATLAS would make its closest pass to Earth in just a matter of months. Governments quietly prepared contingency plans while publicly saying almost nothing. Scientists debated whether to continue active scanning or to go dark, unsure if every signal we sent might be another invitation. For the first time in history, humanity faced the unsettling reality that we may not have found this object first. It may have found us the moment we dared to look. The closer 3IATLAS drifted toward Earth's neighborhood, the heavier the silence became. What began as a scientific marvel had now evolved into a civilizational turning point, a moment that could redefine humanity's place in the universe. For generations, we comforted ourselves with the idea that we were alone, drifting on a pale blue in an endless, indifferent cosmos. But 3IATLAS shattered that illusion. Its deliberate structure, its reactive behavior, and its strategic trajectory painted a far more unsettling picture. This wasn't a random visitor from the stars. Its presence felt intentional. Across think tanks, universities, and classified command centers, humanity began asking questions it had never needed to ask before. What if we were never truly alone? What if the universe isn't silent, but listening, watching, waiting for civilizations to reveal themselves? Theories once dismissed as fringe speculation suddenly sat at the core of global strategy. The object's path, its energy signatures, its response to solar activity, all suggested a form of surveillance or observation far beyond our technological understanding. It wasn't just here by accident. It was here with purpose. The ultimate question echoed through research labs and quiet war rooms alike. What happens now that it knows we're watching? Is this the beginning of contact, the opening chapter of something far larger than our species? Or are we merely insects under a microscope, being observed by an intelligence so far beyond us that our understanding barely scratches the surface? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The moment we looked at 3IATLAS, everything changed. The story of humanity is no longer just about Earth. It's about us and whatever else is out there. Before you go, don't miss what comes next. Click on the video in the end screen to continue exploring the mysteries of the universe. See more mind-blowing interstellar discoveries. Trust me, you'll want to watch every second. The journey is only getting wilder.